Hey there, thanks so much for clicking on our video. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Ashley, and we are the hosts of Bible and Banter.
Bible and Banter is a space for real conversations through the lens of faith.
We hope to be a reminder that we serve a good God
who left us a living word
to tackle all that life throws our way.
Hey, so let's get into it. So we're continuing our series Before Boaz, which is of course inspired by the book of Ruth in the Bible.
And so some choose to focus more so on the part where Ruth goes on to catch the eye of this wealthy man by the name of Boaz, and then he eventually marries her, and it's like blah, 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 blah. But we're more so inspired by the fact that Ruth was putting in work before she even catches this man's eye. And so that's a lot of what the series is more so focused on, is kind of that part where the Before Boaz part, of course, this is where the series name comes from, but like what you're doing to get things done now, to really embrace your single season, to really take this time and make the most of it, and eventually, hopefully, your Boaz will come. But in the meantime, what are we doing? Because Ruth wasn't sitting around crying, focusing on how she's going to catch her a Boaz, right? So
with all that being said, let's just dive right in. I think the first thing we need to do when it comes to boundaries is establish boundaries. Number one, let's define what those are. If you're kind of new to boundaries and don't understand, what that looks like for you, I would say one exercise that might help is just thinking of all the ways that you have failed in the past, and then working backwards from there. I.e., how late will this potential person be staying over if they do get the ability to stay over? Will y'all be having accountability partners in this? Meaning that will there be other people who can speak into your relationship, or is it just something that is just between you two? And then what does it look like when you guys are with each other? What does intimacy look like, right? So that could be cuddling, no horizontal cuddling, no staying late at night, you can say it. It could be so many different things, but I think for me, understanding where my flesh kind of fails was my starting point, and then working backwards and saying, okay, to allow myself not to feel this way again, I need to make sure I have this boundary set up. So it's less of a no, you can't do this, no, stop, don't. It's more of a protection mechanism, I think, for lack of a better word. I think it just is a way to protect the purity of the relationship. Right. And then we have to understand that relationships are meant to honor God, and especially if you guys are dating with intention for the purpose of marriage, you definitely want it to be a Christ-honoring marriage if you are going the Christian route, in my opinion. And so the best way to do that is just to make sure that you are honoring God with all of you. And unfortunately, being fleshly is it's a part of the process, so you have to figure out how that works for you and your partner.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely more of a protection, and it's more of a sometimes you have to be honest with yourself. Like she said, looking back and saying, okay, where are some of the pitfalls from my last relationship? At what point did I let things go too far, or at what point did I not establish the correct boundaries to avoid, this situation happening or being placed in a certain situation? Right. And so, and especially when if you are celibate and you're practicing celibacy, I know, for me, I mean that you really do add this whole new layer of, okay, let me really, really, really make sure I don't end up in the same place that I was in before. Right. And knowing that, knowing what your red flags should be, and allowing that part of the boundary needs to be, before I even get in this relationship or start this relationship with this person, what are the red flags that I need to be prepared to walk away? What are the red flags that I need to see for me to be prepared to walk away, because I know that this person is not going to respect the boundaries that I have now placed for myself, and it comes from, even, for example, if with dealing with celibacy while you're single, and if you express that to them, it may be that one of the things I've struggled with, I don't know if you have, is at what point do you share the celibacy? And from past experience, I've learned the sooner the better, because before, of course, you're just like, oh goodness, am I gonna run him away? And now I'm kind of like, let me run him away.
Honestly, that's exactly I think especially when it comes to the celibacy thing, it almost is like a filter. Right. All the lames, they go through the filters, okay? Right. And so you have certain dudes who will say they're okay with it, but then, you know, a month down, they're like, dang, you really are for real. You're really not going to have, no,
Right,
I'm really
exactly.
not having sex. And then in that, that's why I said it's a protection mechanism as well, because you're protecting you, and the most important part is you. So at the end of the day, if this guy is only looking for one thing, it's gonna be painfully obvious to you, and then you can kind of be like, okay, this is my reason to get out of this. Because if he can't respect your boundary, I mean,
and then you don't want to invest so much time in that person, and then you start having feelings. Like when you get it out of the way in the beginning, you know, there's no harm done. If we need to cut losses now, let's cut them now. But when you're invested, and then all of a sudden it becomes a problem, then that's when you find yourself kind of questioning your boundaries, right? Well, maybe you know, maybe just cuddling a little bit, you know, maybe that I'm willing to do that just because, you know, I don't want him to completely feel like I'm not being intimate at all with him, you know, because you guys didn't clearly. You didn't dive deeper when they said, oh no, I'm fine with you being celibate, you know, and then like she said, in a month in, then it's like, dang, you still
celibate.
You don't still not
do,
having sex.
You don't want to do
like,
nothing.
Not if I get you on the neck, behind the ear, not you know, like, so you need to make sure, like, not just that they're okay with it. I've learned my new boundaries. It's not just that you're okay with it, but that you truly understand my reason for it, that I'm honoring God and you respect that, and that this is something that you two are trying to, you know, this is part of your walk too. Like, you want to respect God and honor God as well. And so we're figuring out different ways to be intimate, and not just like, that's fine. And then it's kind of like a month down the line or 2 months down the line or so. So that's part of the boundaries. It's kind of like knowing when you're ready to walk away from any relationship. And I say celibacy with this one, but even if it's a friendship, and it's like knowing when to walk away when mentally it's too much for you, when emotionally it's too much for you, when you guys just are not aligning right, but just knowing like, here are my boundaries.
Right. No, that's really good. And I do want to just say quickly that boundaries go both ways. I know that I had talked to, I dated a guy in the past, and he actually had a boundary of not texting after 10 p.m. And so I know for me, that's obviously, I think the biggest boundary that always gets put out there is just like purity, celibacy, that kind of thing. But then it's the smaller things of, he understands that after 10 p.m. his mind is in a different state, and so that if he were to continue texting someone he's attracted to, you know, it might lead to certain things that shouldn't be said, or, you know, pictures being sent. You don't know anyone's past, right? And so I think that for me, even during that time when we were talking, it was hard for me to just be like, oh man, I gotta shut off at 10 p.m. Especially if the conversation was good, you know, no matter what it was, text message, phone conversation. I think that a lot of times we as women forget that men can have boundaries as well. And so we need to respect them, just period. So
that's so good. Like, I don't think I mean, go ahead with him. 10 p.m. cut off.
I know. He was great. Okay, so moving on to number two. Number two is seeking accountability. And in this, I just want to preface this, ladies. Understand that when we say you having accountability partners is important, I want to just emphasize that times 100. Just because someone is in your life, that doesn't mean that they get to be your accountability partner. I would say choose someone who you see their faith in action. So when you're seeking accountability, I think that it's important that you choose someone who you look up to in the faith. That I see it almost as like a mentor, or someone who you can go to about questions that are challenging for you, or areas that are challenging for you that this person has seen success in. That's how I would judge an accountability partner. And when it comes to relationships and boundaries, I think going to that person will be your first stop, because they know where you struggle, and then whenever you do have the goo goo gaga eyes, right, the blinders on, whenever you're first getting into relationship with somebody, that person can be someone to kind of almost be an anchor for you to, I hate to say pull you back to reality, but to help you to see things all the way around, as opposed to just seeing things through the eyes of, you know, whatever you're going through in that very moment, and having that person there to keep you accountable to what your goals were prior to you meeting that person. Because I may be saying to Ashley, oh my gosh, like I really want a man of God. I want him to be in the church, have an active faith life. But then I find a man who only has one of those three things, and I'm just
but he's
crazy about him, right? I'm crazy. He's Michael B. Jordan. I'll be like, Ashley, please. Let me date this man. It's her job as my accountability partner not to be dehumanized and be like, no, but more of a soft, just guidance out of that situation and seeing things all the way around. Hey, you know, you told me you were looking for this, so is that what you're still looking for?
Go back through that checklist and say, hey, just, you know, outside looking in, just from what you shared with me and from what you've told me about old dude Michael B. Jordan, you know, he hits the height requirement that you have, but he's missing everything on the faith barometer. All the faith stuff just fell off. So let's talk about, you know, are we headed down the same road before?
So with seeking accountability in our boundaries, of course we're just talking about just in our single lady lifestyle, okay? So as a single woman, I just think that it's important that we just protect ourselves from all of the things that tempt us, guys. And there's so many, and it's so easy. Like the access is so easy now. So I think having that person or people group, which is typically not too many people who I would consider my accountability partners, but just keeping those people around you all the time. I know there's always this saying that, you know, the 5 people around you and like encompass your personality or something like that. So keeping that group very close, I think is really important, because then you can keep each other accountable. Because again, none of these things are a one-way street. It's a relationship, right? So just the same way that Ashley can be my accountability partner, I can be hers. So even though I might be on the Hot Mess Express this week, it might be you next week.
And so we're all a hot mess in progress.
Exactly. Exactly. Let's hashtag that one, okay? So I think that's one big thing to highlight.
Yeah, and I think it's very important to just even, and it may not be the whole group, it may be just one person in that group that is like your true, like I take off my church mask, if I have one, I take off the blessed and highly favored,
all of that church
all of that, I take that away and say, listen, this is what my flesh is battling with, and this is what I need you to hold me accountable for, because this is where I tend to fall short, and this is where I start bending boundaries. And having that person, and of course, you know, pray and use discernment on who that person is, because everybody doesn't need that much access to you. Like I said, this may be 1 or 2 people that you go to that you say, this is what I'm battling with, or to just stop me short. Like you know, Melissa talked about, you know, she may meet this guy, and the only thing that he checks is that he looks like Michael B. Jordan, but he don't check any of the values, any of the, any of that. And so your accountability partner is that person that's like, you know, not the hater, but the one that's like, well, let's look at that. Like,
she always got to put in the hater category. She's not a hater. She's not a hater.
But just that we talked about that, you know, this time around you really wanted a godly man, and though he does look like Michael B,
that's tough if he looks like Michael B.
He's blowing cobwebs off of that Bible, so maybe
he's blowing cobwebs.
Maybe that's not the one, is all I'm saying.
Probably not the one, sis. He's probably not the one. He does look good. He is one guy, but there will be another.
There will be another.
There will be another.
And that's just the importance of accountability. Like, who can you be vulnerable around? Who can you be transparent with? Who's going to help you stay within those boundaries? Because, it's great to say, okay, I've set all these new boundaries. I reflected back on my last relationship, and this time I'm not dealing with this. I'm walking away at this point. I'm not allowing this to happen. We are only doing dates outside of the home. We're not doing any Netflix and chilling, nothing. We're going to movie theaters if we want to see a movie. I mean, you know, hopefully the pandemic has passed, because this is COVID-19 times when we're filming this. But
you know, get creative.
Get creative.
Drive-ins, maybe. We'll think about that.
We'll think about the drive-in. We're gonna pray on the
drive-in. Be led by the Spirit on that, okay?
Right. So it's great to have that, but you also need that accountability person, because we're all human. None of us are walking around holier than thou.
Not
None of
one.
us. Exactly.
Not
we all
even
have
one.
some type of sin that kind of has a hold on us that we are trying to get through, and that we are praying about and we are repenting about, and it's just important to kind of just have that support group that you can just really like say, look, this is what I need you to pray over. I need you to come in agreement with me. I need you to sometimes intercede for me.
Please.
So and that's the importance of why accountability, we think, goes so well with talking about boundaries, because they kind of come hand in hand.
That's right. You're still here, which basically means we're best friends. So why not like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our series.
And feel free to join the conversation below. Tell us how you're killing this single season, or if you're booed up, hey, listen, drop some gems for us.
Let us know.
Let us know. Let us know.
Boot up.
Okay, so you know what? I'm just curious, Melissa. Like, what would you say are your top 3 boundaries that you have when it comes to dating in this season for you?
For sure. I'd say number 1 boundary is obviously not having any sex, so that won't be going down while you're dating me. Number 2, let's see. I think I'm gonna go with also having a time limit on the time spent with that significant other. I just know me and my past. It has been bad during later hours to stay around someone that you just like, because I mean naturally you're gonna be attracted to them. You're gonna want to spend more time with them, which I totally get, but I think that's a big boundary for me now, is just to stop at a certain time, and then I talk to that person and work it out, but my biggest thing is just like ending it at a very reasonable hour, so we can both just get home and get our full 8 hours of sleep and wake up and enjoy each other the next day. And let's see, a third boundary, I don't know, I'm one of those people who's very protective of my family, so meeting my family is actually a boundary for me. I don't introduce men to my family too quickly.
That's so true. Same here.
Because I feel like with family things get just very messy very quick, and if you meet the family too quick, I mean, understandably so, if something happens, like your mom just so happens to be in town and I'm just there, then cool, but you're not gonna meet my family anytime until I know that we're solid. You don't need to meet my family. So that would be 3 for me. What about you?
I'll have to piggyback on a couple of those. One being no sex. I am celibate and have been for a very long time. So for me, it's no sex. That's a boundary, and then just building boundaries around that to protect myself. I would say would be just kind of the boundaries that I set in the very, very beginning, and kind of the self-assessment boundaries, right? Like for me, like having boundaries and having at this point, no matter what, I walk away. Like if we are not aligned, setting boundaries of like, now we need to be in alignment of our values and our prioritization of our spiritual walk and growing in our faith. And it can't just be, oh, you're a Christian, I'm a Christian, so we go together. But no, but like, does that actually mean something to you? Does that actually does that actually alter your I guess just your way of life? Like, is this embedded in your way of life, or is this just like, oh, I believe in God, but I don't read his word. I'm not trying to walk by anything in his word. I'm not trying to grow my relationship. Like, do you have a relationship with Jesus is the question, not do you believe in God.
That's a better question to
I
ask.
think that's the better, and not do you go to church, like, but do you have a relationship? Because I don't want to know about the religion of it. I want to know about the relationship.
Right.
So I guess my boundary is making sure that I'm protecting myself, because ultimately, if you do have the relationship, then the celibacy thing, I'm not going to be as much in a vulnerable place as if I were to date someone who just says, oh, I'm okay with you being celibate. Right, and then the pressures start coming, right, and then they start trying to tempt you in their own way. Because
they're okay with you being celibate.
Right,
that was
exactly, but
like,
they're not okay with them being celibate. Right, exactly. So I would say just kind of setting up boundaries to where there are specific red flags that I walk away and I can no longer look past.
That's good.
And I would say, yeah, I would, and in that also, yeah, and then in the way of dating, like very, very minimal with the let's just hang out at home.
Right.
You know, especially in the beginning when you're still trying to learn this person's character and like, are they really about what they talk about? So that would be a boundary. And then also I would say meeting the family, because I think only one guy I've dated has actually met my family, and it. Yeah. Because then it's like what I loved about not meeting my family, because I am very, very close with my family, is that I don't want the questions when it doesn't work out.
Because my family, the one that, well, what happened to?
Right, exactly.
Don't worry about him. He's gone. Delete him from your mind.
Right, he's dead. No.
I deleted him from mine.
So
yes.
I'd have to say that. So I would just say the boundaries around dating and walking away, and and just making sure that I'm like really setting myself up for success. And
that part.
And
we're super curious to know what's your boundaries, if you have any boundaries. Actually put some down below in the comments. Let us know what some of your boundaries are, maybe your top 3, to share with the other ladies, so that we can all be in community with each other and be like, oh, that's a good boundary, let me get that boundary, oh, that's good, you know, because we out here protecting each other. Each other, okay?
Right, like the no texting after 10, I'm like, you know what?
When he
Let
told
me
me
find out
that,
there need to be a boundary for me.
I was like, wow, this is my husband. It didn't work out, y'all, but it's okay. At the end of the day, I did realize the lesson was guys also have boundaries, so.
Right, but other than that, don't ask no questions.
Correct, sir. All right, y'all, it's been real. Thank you so much for watching our 2nd episode of Bible and Banter.
And if you haven't already, please go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment down below. Click the bell notification. Share this video. Share it with your friends, your family, your play cousins,
all of that.
Everybody, because you're a real one if you stuck around this long. Hey, listen, we play cousins.
Basically, at this point. Be sure to tune in next Sunday as we dive into our final segment of the Before Boaz series. We're going to be talking about frustrations while being single. And you know what I'm talking about.
And you know this.
It's hard. It's hard out here, okay?
It's hard out here.
But it won't be after you watch this video.
Maybe it's still gonna be a little.
It might be a little hard, but you know it's gonna be less hard.
But listen,
because we in this together.
We in this together. Listen, you found your tribe.
Right here.
Right here.
Right here. And out there with the rest of us, okay?
All right, so that brings us to the end of this video, you guys. And just always remember, Jesus loves you.
We love you.
And you are more than enough.
Bye.